Thanks, Chris. 2 years ago, we made a promise to devise a new, entertaining event portfolio. In fact, I recently had a look at exactly what we did say in Marrakesh 2 years ago, and I found one key sentence that summarized what we wanted to do. We need better and more entertaining events, maybe different competitions and leagues, and we need a more coherent calendar of events spread throughout the year and in different parts of the world. With that in mind, we also promised from the start to be thorough. We would start with a blank sheet of paper. We would consider all of the options and ideas that were put to us, and we would only put into the portfolio those events that met our objectives. Ladies and gentlemen, those 2 years have been quite a journey, going from our blank piece of paper to being able to reveal today our new event portfolio. We believe that this portfolio, to be in place from 2019 onwards, is probably the most revolutionary part of our hockey revolution. We believe that it sits at the heart of everything we do and everything that's already been discussed today. It represents the most exciting and biggest change, the way that we will deliver hockey to fans around the world. And as many of you know, it was not the work of one or two individuals. And I want to acknowledge and thank right from the outset all those people from around the world that were involved in bringing this initiative to life and making it a reality. And you'll hear from many of them as we go along today. But I want to start off by reminding us why we wanted to change what we've got at the moment. We want to grow and inspire. And to do that, we need to raise the profile of our sport and consider everything we do from a fan's perspective. Because before the launch of the hockey revolution, we knew that doing nothing would lead to a long and slow decline of our sport. We were going to become irrelevant and invisible to our fans, our athletes, our potential athletes, our sponsors, and the list goes on. But actually, why did we think this? We heard earlier that our fans and our enthusiasts love hockey. They think it's brilliant. So some of you may be saying, well, why? Why did we need to do it? And actually, it was because everybody was telling us that we needed to. You heard from Kelly this morning about the challenges that we faced following the London 2012 Games and some of the comments there. But actually, the difficult feedback wasn't just confined to them. The research that Raywin took us through also highlighted a few things that they said we could improve on. Our fans want to watch hockey consistently and regularly on television. But they can't because it's simply not there. They want to form bonds and loyalties with individual stars and teams. But we make it really, really hard for them because we don't have it out there. We don't give them that profile. What they actually really want is lots more international competitions. They want to see their own national team playing in the countries that they live in. So we know that many of our events today have no particular meaning or purpose for local fans. And in short, the message that you've heard already today, they're simply not fan-focused. So following the board meeting in Marrakesh, we were given a mandate by the executive board to set up a working group who would come up with the recommendations and present back to them. The working group was made up of a number of different stakeholders, and we tried to make sure that we were representing all of the continents and all of the different groups. And I'd just like to take a minute to say who was on that working group and who's really put the hours in to make sure that we've come up with something we believe is absolutely right. We had 3 CEOs, Sally Munday, Cam Vale, and Eric Gerritsen. We had 3 members of our Continental Federations, Julio Neves, Taya Bikram, and Angus Kirkland. We had Marsha Cox, who was representing the athletes. And we had Chaitanya Divan from STAR, our media partner. And Ken Reid, chairman of the competitions committee, was the chair of that group. So I'd like to thank them for all of the work that they've done. From the very outset, we had 3 big and ambitious objectives. We wanted a massive change in TV and media coverage. We wanted to deliver events that are consistently big, bold, packed, and loud. And as a result of these 2, we believe this will transform hockey's financial position so that we can truly be a sport in the future that can top-down fund. We want our sport to be a career for athletes, to employ a greater number of professional staff in our national associations and continental federations, and amongst our umpires and our officials. We want to be offering serious prize money for our events. So we had our objectives, we had our working group, we had our blank sheet of paper, and we were ready to start the journey. I want to first explain the principles we agreed together as a working group, and then have a look at the consultation process we went through. We needed a set of principles to make sure that we were making the right decisions and we were keeping on track. And we also agreed that all of the events needed to meet not just one, but all of the principles. So let's have a look at them. We want standout events that create drama and cut through the noise that Richard said we needed to make. We need events that are really noticed. We need it needs to be simple and meaningful. Clear stakes. What does winning mean? We need a predictable and regular calendar so that fans can plan ahead and create new habits. We all know there's certain events. We know exactly when they're taking place. Every year, we know when to tune in and get excited about watching them. We don't have that. We need more opportunities to see, so fans can build allegiances to their own teams and their own players. We don't have that opportunity to see. We have our events and we have our spike in interest, and then hockey goes away for 6 months until it reappears when we have another event. And we really need to focus on rivalries, that intense rivalry that we've got between nations of a similar level. And now looking at our consultation process. If you just look at the numbers on the slide, I think it's fair to say that never in the history of hockey have we consulted so thoroughly with so many people from so many different stakeholder groups, in different backgrounds and different countries. We launched a feasibility study. We employed Deloitte to provide us with some sound financial modelling to answer the question, does this add up from a financial point of view? After 16 months of work, I don't think the working group knew that that's how long they would be living and breathing this project. They found a new concept that was a clear winner, because it had the potential to deliver so many benefits for the sport. So let's get on to revealing the new event portfolio, and we'll do it in stages. The portfolio that was unanimously endorsed by the Executive Board earlier this year. I'll start with the World Cup. We don't know where this will be in 2022, but we do know that it will be continued to be held every 4 years. We know that this is the most prestigious prize in hockey, right up there with winning a gold medal at the Olympics. But the difference is this is our tournament and we own it. It provides some of the toughest, most skillful and memorable hockey imaginable. We remember the spectacle of The Hague in 2014. It set us a new benchmark. We're looking forward with great excitement to the World Cups in England and India in 2018. So essentially, the World Cup doesn't change its purpose or its place in our calendar. But as Richard said, what we need to do is make sure that it has a very, very clear position. This, with all our events, needs to have a clear positioning. It must have a unique role and purpose and be strongly distinctive. Then we have to make sure that everything we produce around it and everything that we do around the globe consistently talks to this message. It's all about the power of brand that Simon talked about. So we looked at the characteristics of our World Cup. It's sporting excellence. It's country versus country in a knockout. Who's going to be the one winner? We wanted to find a word that encapsulates the spirit and the ambition of this event. A word that can drive a campaign. And that word is glory. It's the glory that comes from moments of extraordinary magic that Richard mentioned, where athletes become stars and stars become legends. So whilst we have the positioning of the World Cup in mind, let's jump to the second event in the portfolio, and I'll reintroduce you to the World League. The World Cup, the World League, there'll be two separate brands, two distinct events, but very clearly part of the same family. These are what we call our world event products, very much rooted in the sport. And just as we did for the World Cup, the word that encapsulates the spirit and ambition of the World League is all about fairy tale. The fairy tale of the incredible journey. The fairy tale that happens when dreams come true. And to talk us through how the World League will work, I'm going to hand over to David.
Thank you, Sarah. Well, from the moment it started in 2012, the World League proved itself to be an instant hit, a major success story. It's a great competition, giving us drama, passion, and inspiration, delivered with intensity, speed, and skill. This is where new talent is discovered and unleashed on the world. This is where teams from all over the globe take it to the limit and beyond, providing their fans with the chance to see their team make it to the World Cup or the Olympic Games. Indeed, this is where most of our hockey is played. In fact, the rounds 1 and 2 of the World League have already contributed significantly to the growing strength of our sport in the last few years. This third edition of the World League saw 75 teams enter, an increase of 20% on the first edition in 2012. Where 322 players made their debut, there were 1,223 goals scored, where the youngest player was 13 years old, where the average age of the Cambodian women's team was just 18 years, where the average age of the Ecuadorian men's team was just 19 years. Truly an inspiration for the next generation. All of this tells us that the World League must continue to perform its role as a cornerstone of our new event portfolio. Even the smallest hockey-playing nations must continue to have an opportunity to write their own chapter in the history books. So it will still take place every 2 years, but from 2019 onwards, it will be just over 2 rounds. All teams will continue to have the chance to qualify for the Olympic Games and the World Cup, and we'll cover this in more detail later. Round 1 will be played regionally, as it is today, with a number of teams in each event depending upon the number of entries. Round 2 will consist of 3 events made up of 8 teams. 9 teams will be seeded into the 3 events, with 3 seeds in each event. The remaining teams are those qualified out of round 1. And now, to introduce the next piece of the jigsaw, the 3rd competition in the new event portfolio, I'll hand back to Sarah.
Thank you. So now we can introduce the new showcase event into our portfolio. This will replace the Champions Trophy and the World League semi-finals and finals. So what's this all about? What we need to do with this event is send that message to millions of general sports fans that we met before lunch to say, you must look again at hockey. Remember, 60% of them needed a new reason to do so. So here we give you an event that says hockey is not what you think. It's different. It'll look different. It will feel different. This is a commercial entertainment product, and it will leverage one of the most important and valuable assets which we have. And our word, which encapsulates the power of this event, is home. And this is because hockey is best at home. So hockey's coming home in 2019, where the teams that you care about, your home team, will be playing at home. This isn't tournament hockey anymore, where we have lots of matches played in a nation where there's 2 nations that are not the home team. People don't want to go and watch. It doesn't interest them. We have empty stadiums. This is about playing a match at home against an opposition and a match away. And we believe this is one of the first global leagues to play home and away for a team sport. We don't yet have a name or a visual identity for this event, but that's coming very soon at the beginning of next year. This is a hugely significant and exciting step to take, and a brave one. It means we can hold far more home matches than ever before. It's like taking our most valuable asset and increasing it overnight from what we have at the moment by 330%. But why is this so important? This will generate more big, bold, packed and loud events. It's what fans want. Athletes want to play in a big home crowd. And it's what we want. Home fixtures give us the opportunity to drive loyalty, develop allegiances, and we'll have more of those meaningful matches we were talking about. So, let's see how this league's going to work. Each team will play each other at home and away. If there are 7 teams, that's 6 teams at home, 6 matches at home and 6 matches away. If we had a 9-team league, it'd be 8 matches at home and 8 matches away. And this happens annually. So every single year, we will see these teams playing each other at home and away. So if we had 7-team league, we would end up with 84 home matches, 42 for men and 42 for women. And the format for the men's and the women's league will be exactly the same. The nations, of course, might not be the same, but the format will. Because, as we know, women and men are equally amazing. The teams will remain in the league for 4 years. This is vital for the teams that are in to build up investment from sponsors, partners, and to be able to build facilities. It's powerful to be able to go and talk to funders to say, we will have home matches every week and every month for a long period of time that you can invest in. Of course, we don't want to alienate people. We'll be looking to increase the number of the teams in the league as we go along. We want teams and national associations to aspire to get into the league. So where are the matches going to happen? I mean, at the moment, we don't know who's going to be playing. But we've split our world into 2 hemispheres. And we'll follow the sun. So in the first half of the year, February, March, April time, we'll play in the southern hemisphere. And that's when all those matches will take place. We'll then follow the sun to the northern hemisphere when it gets a bit warmer, in April, May, June time. And that's when we'll play our matches in the northern hemisphere. So how will we schedule them? Important always for us. How will we schedule them so that they're best for everybody, that we can ensure great crowds, and we have that hockey available for those general fans to watch? It needs to be optimized for broadcasters. Other events don't jump around the calendar, they're fixed. They will tell us the best times of the day and the best days to get the maximum number of viewers that Andy talked about earlier. And they'll know how to keep the fans engaged for longer every time they see hockey. We need to make sure it's optimized for crowds. We want people there. Our national associations will tell us which days, which times, and which days of the week are best. We need to make sure we're looking after our athletes, the time away from home, and recovery from long-haul flights. But we know that, in fact, when we look at the amount of travel they do already for our events and the friendly internationals, for some teams, what they'll do in the home and away is not that different. And we need to make sure it's consistent year on year so people know when to tune in, watch, enjoy, and see their stars playing. So now you know a little bit about the league. Let's go back and see if it matches up against the principles that we set. We believe it does. As of today, we don't know whether the league will be 7, 8, or 9 teams, or more. And we don't know who those teams will be. But we do know that we've defined some criteria for participation in the league. And we have to remember that the success of this league to achieve and maintain the highest standards that we strive for has to be right from the outset. It has to be right when we launch it with the first game in 2019. So we'll be looking at past track records and future potential across all of our national associations. It's not based solely on world ranking, although that's important. More importantly, are the teams in the league can generate lots of TV and media coverage, can deliver the most amazing events, and that they can be financially viable and committed for 4 years. And very soon you'll hear more about the process and the application process the national associations will be able to go into to enter into the league. And finally, for maximum excitement, we plan to introduce a grand final, during which we will crown the ultimate winner of the league. It will take place close to the end of the last match that's played, and it will involve the top 4 teams, both men's and women's, playing in a standalone tournament at a predetermined location. And one final word before I hand back to David. For all those national associations not playing in this league, we believe that the league is the key to the success and the strength of hockey at all levels. With this home and away at its core, there'll be a ripple effect for the popularity of hockey to all our other events, whether that be domestic leagues, the World League, continental events, and other FIH events. The success that we create in the middle of that will have a ripple effect and a positive knock-on for all our events. It'll also help strengthen our World Cup. We will have had so many national associations used to hosting. They'll all be wanting to bid for the 2022 World Cup. And as we've pointed out many times before, with bigger and better events comes greater TV potential. With greater TV potential comes more realistic sponsorship and commercial interest. And this will drive the revenues so that we can distribute back to the sport. And now I'll hand back to David.
Thanks again, Sarah. Now, in a moment, I'm going to talk through how Olympic qualification will work and show us what the new calendar will look like. But first, I want to invite a few colleagues who are here and who each played a vital role on our working group, developing everything that we've shared with you to give you their views. So first, I would like to ask Cam Vale, the Chief Executive of Hockey Australia and member of the Event Portfolio Working Group, to give his opinion on what he's just heard. Over to you, Cam.
I think we're on. Really briefly from me, the key words that I'd like to reiterate about this league is the decentralised home model is just critical for the growth of the sport. Countries need to be playing at home, engaging at all possible levels. The second point is the consistency. We need consistency in our product and how we deliver it across the world. Fans need to know when it's on every year, how to follow it, and how to be more engaged with what we do. The third point is the broadcast point. Broadcast is critical to what we're about to achieve, not just for the countries in this global league, this home and away league, but for all of those that aspire to be in it. And probably one of the most telling points for me is the fans. The fact that we now have a product like all other team sports that we can really engage a fan base in, grow a fan base, have others aspire to be part of this league so they can grow their fan base. And in concluding, for me, this league should be about growth for the whole sport, not just the countries that are in it. Yes, they'll be the ones that will be leading the way in the first 4 years, but growth of the sport is critical across the board. And for this league to be successful, that growth should be reflected in the next tier of countries and then the next tier after that, and that this will be the catalyst for that step change that the sport needs to aspire to be more professional. Thanks, David.
Great, thank you, Cam. And now over to Annie Panther, the chair of the FIH Athletes Committee. Annie's in the middle, Hilary. Annie, what do you think?
Thanks, David. I very clearly remember the first time I heard about the new event portfolio. It was the first time I'd been in Lausanne, in the FIH offices, with the Athletes Committee. And Sarah came in and presented this idea to us. And I also very clearly remember the emotions I felt at the time. The first one was excitement, and the second one was disappointment, that on a personal level, I wouldn't still be playing to be a part of this. And the reason why I felt those emotions were because of the memories I had from my own playing career. Playing in front of a home crowd, both in my own country, and playing in front of a home crowd abroad in an opposition's country. In particular for me, Argentina was a very special place to go and play. The crowds were amazing. They didn't stop cheering, chanting for the entire game. Whenever Argentina got over your halfway line, there was so much noise. Whenever we got anywhere near their circle, which in those days wasn't always that often, they whistled. So although they weren't on my team's side, it was still an incredible atmosphere to go and play in. And then at the end of my career, I was fortunate enough to play in a home Olympic Games. And that was amazing. As a player, that was amazing. But more importantly, since then, I've seen what it's done to hockey in my country. I've seen what it's done for the sport, how it's raised the profile, what it's done for the athletes in the teams, and what it means now when an event is hosted in the UK. What it means for the stands being full, what it also means with engagement with fans. I now have people who have no contact with hockey at all asking me when we're hosting events, how can they get tickets? And when I take people along who don't have a connection to hockey, I also have a confidence that they're going to go and enjoy it, and it's going to be a spectacle, and it's going to be an event, and they're going to come back saying positive things about it. And that has been massive for hockey in the UK. And I feel very strongly that this new home and away league will do the same for hockey in other countries. My plea to everyone today would be to put the athletes front and center in this. Kelly talked about it this morning, and the athletes are the actors in our play, and there is no play without actors. When we first engaged with the wider athlete community, it was back in March this year, and the overriding feedback was similar to the emotions I felt. It was excitement. It was that this is the right direction for our game to be heading in. There were also a load of questions, which is only a good thing. We are really fortunate that we have athletes, as was made evident by Gonzalo earlier, who are intelligent and who truly care about our sport and the future of our sport. And that is a commodity that we need to use. So what I would ask is that everybody from the FIH Athletes Committee, the Continental Federations, the national associations, go away from here we engage, we include, we inform our athletes of this, because this is an amazing idea. And what will really change it from an amazing idea to something which changes our game for the better is the athletes who will play in it.
Brilliant. Thanks, Annie. And finally, to Chaitanya Divan, Senior Vice President of Star Sports, the FIH's official media partner. Chaitanya, if we can get the microphone to you, just to give us a little bit of a different perspective from a broadcaster's point of view. What's your opinion of the plans that you've just heard presented?
I think the new event portfolio is very, very exciting. It builds on extremely simple but intuitive ideas. For example, the home match concept. It's a no-brainer for hockey to have matches in stadiums packed with 10,000 fans supporting their home team. These simple intuitive ideas from a broadcaster's point of view help us build help us showcase competitive matches. They help us build a story, a narrative over a longer period of time. They help us build a viewing habit. And ultimately, if it works for fans, it works for every stakeholder in this room as well. I think this portfolio is a step change in the right direction. Thank you.
Many thanks, Chaitanya. And many thanks to Cam, Annie, and Chaitanya for giving us their insights from very, very different perspectives. And all those perspectives are equally valid and important. We'll be taking your questions later this afternoon, but let me finish our story by explaining how Olympic qualification will work. Our aim is to balance the requirements of the IOC with our new event portfolio. Our process must include the principles of universality and global spread. Each national association has to have 2 routes to qualify. It needs to be as easy to understand as possible. Wherever we can, we'll use our own Continental Federation events rather than adding more events to the schedule. And of course, we want the best teams to get through. In summary, it looks something like this. So who qualifies? The host is Japan. The 5 winners of the Continental Championships, and the last 6 come from an Olympic qualification event. So let me emphasize, the host, the 5 Continental winners, and 6 from a qualification event. Easy to understand. The Olympic qualification event itself will have 12 teams. The top 4 from the home and away league will qualify, as will the winners and runners-up of the World League Round 2. The remainder will be made up from world ranking. If, for example, a team in the top 4 of the home and away league wins their Continental Championship, then their spot in the qualifier goes to the next ranked team. If the winner or runner-up of a World League 2 event wins their Continental Championship, then their spot in the qualifier will go to the next ranked team. That's how the qualification event will work. We've talked about the World Cup, the World League, the home and away league, and Olympic qualification. We started with the famous blank sheet of paper, but from 2019, we'll have a calendar that looks something like this. The calendar shows the World League Round 1 starting in just 18 months' time, in 2018. The home and away league running from the end of January to the middle of June, each and every year. World League Round 2 will run concurrently with the home and away league. And the Continental Federation Championships will have a clearly defined block where possible. So we've covered a lot of ground with you this afternoon. And while I know that some people here are very familiar with this, there are many of you who are hearing about this big and revolutionary step for the very first time. And I know there's a lot of information to absorb here. And while we've talked about what it will take to get into the Home and Away League and what we're looking for in terms of hosting these events, we haven't yet explained how we intend to run a similar bidding process for national associations who want to be part of the portfolio and host one of our events. So rather than get into that level of detail now, we'll be holding a workshop first thing tomorrow. Apologies for the early start, but first thing tomorrow before we continue our Congress program, specifically to discuss the bidding and hosting process with you. Chris will give us details of where and when at the end of this afternoon, so please come along and we look forward to seeing as many of you there as possible. But for everyone, in just a few minutes, there'll be an opportunity to discuss everything you've heard today. With your colleagues at your table, talk to them, discuss with them, come up with questions. So let me leave you with a couple of thoughts. Revolutions are all about change. And we wanted to approach our event portfolio with a no-limits thinking. We needed to provide a reason for people to come and take another look at our incredible sport. We've developed an exciting plan that provides limitless potential for that to happen. Potential to hold incredible events. Events that have drama and passion, that fans, players, and commercial partners will love and want to be a part of, that are played regularly and consistently, providing limitless possibilities for fans to fall in love with their home teams as we build the profile of the stars and the sport. This is the direction we have to move in if we want to have a sport that delivers drama and excitement of the highest order. This is how we drive big, bold, packed, and loud, where the crowd and the atmosphere they create is as important and as breathtaking as the game itself. Imagine for a second that you're not in this terrific venue in Dubai, but instead you're at home, going with your friends and family to see your hockey team in a massively important must-win game in your local stadium. We have one more film for you, and while you're watching, keep on imagining. Imagine what it would be like if this was us all the time. Because every team and every sport has to start somewhere. With our new event portfolio, this could be us. This is our start. Because if they can, we can. Thank you.